Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Mary vs. the Movies with your host, Mary Jones.
And Dennis Ling.
And unfortunately, we don't have a guest this week. It's just us.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I know. Back to the same old grind. What we do have, however, is another, I don't know, shall we call it a face-off? Because if you remember, a few months ago, we took two movies on. I didn't know the difference between Empire of the Sun and The Last Emperor. Well, we're back.
Do you now?
I definitely do. In fact,
They were basically the same movie.
They were absolutely not the same movie, even though they both were, involved World War II.
Both involved World War II. Both were set in China.
But they're very different films, honestly, and very different styles. Anyway, we're back with a similar conundrum. I don't know the difference between Starman and The Last Starfighter. These are both films that I know were on cable when I was younger, and I have no idea exactly which is which. So here's the thing. I know that one movie was directed by John Carpenter. I know one movie has Jeff Bridges in it. I know one movie has Robert Preston in it. One movie, I think, is about a dude who is secretly an alien, maybe? And the other, I think, is Tron in Space. Now, I'm not entirely sure what is what, though. And I don't know who made what or who stars in what. And I don't know if my thinking it's Tron in Space is because one of the movies has Jeff Bridges. He's in Tron, right?
He is.
Is that The Last Starfighter? Because it's got kind of a, name like that.
The dude in space.
Yes. It's just that their names are very similar. I feel like they came out around the same time.
I think so, yeah.
And I've never actually sat and watched either of these films. The one that's about a guy who's an alien is set in Kansas. Wait a minute. Am I thinking about Superman? No, I'm dead serious. Am I thinking about like the opening of Superman?
That's just where they live.
Well, maybe that's just where aliens like to go. I mean, everybody thinks about Nevada and, Area 51 or whatever, but maybe where we should be looking is Kansas.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I assume one of these movies is somewhere. They might both be set in the Midwest. I have no idea. I think one movie is about a guy who gets recruited to do war in space, right?
Okay.
Because he's good at video games. So again, that's Tron, right? Okay, the only time I ever saw Tron, I was at a club, and that was being like,
we didn't see
shown.
Tron together?
I've never seen Tron with you. Absolutely not. I was
So
at.
you have seen Tron? Though?
Well, does it count as seeing a movie if you were at a club dancing to like techno while it was being projected onto a wall and you were inebriated?
Yes.
Well, then I've seen Tron. I just remember the guy who plays Cratchit in the George C. Scott version of A Christmas Carol getting vaporized at the end of the movie.
Oh.
At least I think that's what happened to him.
I think you put it on the list, really. Like
What,
if you
Tron?
didn't- Yeah.
I mean, I know what happens. Jeff Bridges gets sucked into a computer and rides a cycle. I've seen memes.
Yeah.
I remember that guy who was the light cycle meme. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure which movie is which. I don't know which, John Carpenter, we've watched one John Carpenter movie for this podcast that I can think of. I've seen several of his movies, but I don't know which one is really him. I mean, because he's had, at least one movie set in space, Dark Star, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Could he be doing the Secret Alien one? I mean, he had Secret Aliens sort of in They Live, although they're menacing aliens. I feel like this alien's not a menacing alien.
Well, he also is into video games, so
Right.
Maybe he did the video game one.
Maybe he did the one that's like a video game. See, because I think Starman...
Or maybe they're the same. I feel like I've talked to you about one of
You,
them.
Dennis, you talk to me about a lot of things. And I have a memory like Swiss cheese.
And you responded.
Sure. Dennis, it's an automatic response. It's like when you hit a knee with a hammer. Like, what did I actually say?
Anyway, I'm just going to say that when you see one, you're going to be, oh, you told me about this one.
I am definitely not. I don't remember any of this.
You're going to be, oh, yeah, that's right.
Are you okay, what would you want to bet that I don't say that?
I don't want to lose money. 100 doll hairs.
Wait a minute. I know how to parse when you say that. Did you say $100 or 100 doll hairs?
100 doll hairs.
Are you going to hand me a Barbie's head?
2 apes.
2 apes?
Yeah.
Oh no. No. Get that NFT stuff out of here. No. We're not doing that. All right.
I've only seen one of them, so I won't say which until...
I should hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, you would ruin the premise of the show, which of course is that I have not actually seen either of these films, and I'm trying to figure out which is which, what they are about, and then, we go and watch, and then I respond.
Yep.
I don't know. Shall we go and watch Starman, and then find out it's not The Last Starfighter?
Yeah. Or maybe it is.
Or maybe it is. I don't know. So, shall we go watch the movie?
Sure.
There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it. Let the children use it.
So there are multiple explosions in this film, including an alien craft crash landing in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Just lights up.
That was a big one.
That was huge. I was surprised at how big that was.
Yeah.
There is the tanker that gets blown up.
Mm-hmm. There's the tree blowing up when
yes.
he causes the tire iron to
get hot. Yeah. There's an entire formation of helicopters. You know, there's a lot of very expensive, kind of action things in this, in a film that's not really an action film.
Yeah. Michael Douglas spared no expense.
So my question for you is, what was more expensive, all of that or getting the rights to play the Rolling Stones Satisfaction?
Which apparently is not on the original Voyager.
No.
That's Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Starman was not what I was expecting. He's not a secret alien. There's nothing secret about the fact that he's an alien. Everybody knows he's an alien when they know that he's not human.
It's not like he fools her or anything. Like,
oh, no.
She sees him turn into a baby, into a
child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, there's no hiding what he is.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what this was about, and I was rather surprised by what it's about. It's a bit like if Frank Capra made a movie with aliens. And I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, it's a road movie.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many product placements of Greyhound buses that all I could think about was it happened one night.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious because this is a road trip with, a man and a woman.
And Coca-Cola.
And Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Very prominent Coca-Cola.
Well, you know why that is? Columbia was owned by the Coca-Cola Corporation.
Right.
That's nuts. Wait a minute. Who let Coca-Cola make movies? That's very weird. I just brought up Frank Capra. There's also some Hitchcock thrown in here. There's a lot of Hitchcock thrown in here.
Yeah.
What was it? He was originally wanted to do the 39 Steps.
Well, it sounds like The Thing was a horrible flop for him, and he wanted to do the opposite.
Sure.
In every way. He did kind of go back to classic films and tried to make what he considered a Hollywood movie, I guess.
Well, and it is a Hollywood movie. So it's a road movie. It's a romance.
Yep.
He's an alien, but it's more in the sense that The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a lot of DNA from the Day the Earth Stood Still in this.
Yeah.
The references to the Voyager 2 probe. He's consciously going back to Carl Sagan. In fact, I wondered if the scientist in this is supposed to be a stand-in for Carl Sagan.
Yeah, now you've seen Contact, right?
I have seen Contact.
Yeah, this feels like an early version of that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Contact is like
much more sciencey.
And more sciencey and more trying to get it right, where this is early on.
It's a science fiction film, but it's not a sciencey movie. It is about aliens and it is about humans interacting with aliens, but it's also a movie about a woman trying to deal with grief.
Yeah.
And being given a chance to say goodbye to a husband who was killed suddenly.
Yeah.
So there's this whole emotional element to this movie that Contact isn't necessarily about. This really is. I mean, the tagline is something silly like, that he's this advanced alien, thousands of years ahead of us, and all of his, he does not know how to handle love. Like, it's some terrible tagline. But it's kind of true.
I'm sure John Carpenter's like, just sell my movie. Do whatever you got to do. Just give me the money.
So the premise is that the Voyager 2 probe has gone out and it's encountered an alien species. They're basically like balls of light, they're energy, but they're conscious.
And we see the planet.
That's not a planet, though. That's their ship, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I guess it might be, yeah.
Yeah, because that's definitely the ship that shows up at the end. It's just that it looks like a planet when you start the film because it's
that's
this...
right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's this big reflective ball with a ring around it, kind of like Saturn, only it's more obviously made of like little rocks and whatnot.
And it's reflecting a unicorn with these wings, like a Pegasus, and there's like rainbows that come out of it. Sorry, it really looks like this like Trapper Keeper crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yes, exactly. It does have...
It's a really goofy 80s looking spaceship, but it doesn't take away from the movie.
No, I mean, it's goofy in the way that, what you're describing. I mean, it looks like the cover of, a record by Asia or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But that feels right for the time. Like, it's not distracting. It's just kind of like, oh, this is very, mid-early 80s. But you know what? I like it. I'm glad it looks like that. It should look like that. So the Voyager probe encounters it, and naturally they play the gold record. Now, if you don't know, the gold record was put on, I thought it was on the first Voyager. Maybe it's on the second Voyager. I guess it's on the second Voyager. The gold record is literally that. It's basically like a giant golden CD with all this data on it that we hope some alien life form will find and be able to figure out how to play. I guess it was Carl Sagan decided what to put on this record, and it's all these languages saying hi, giving greetings. The head of the UN at one point gives like this little speech, welcoming people, we are humans, please come check us out. The Human Tourist Board, essentially. And it has all these snippets of music. And, the one thing I always remember is Chuck Berry, Johnny B. Good is on there, which, yeah, man, if you're going to send some music into space, I would definitely send, Chuck Berry.
I'd send Dion.
Really?
No, Chuck Berry's fine.
Oh, it's fine?
It's okay, I guess.
Oh, my God.
Little Richard, maybe? Can you imagine an alien hearing Tutti Frutti?
For whatever reason, he doesn't use Chuck Berry. He uses the Rolling Stones.
I assume licensing, who knows?
No, I assume that it's John Carpenter. He just really wanted to use the Rolling Stones.
Oh, yeah, I could see that too.
He's an old hippie.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess he wasn't old at that point. But no, I mean, of course he's just going to have the Stones. If Columbia is willing to pay the price, go for it. It has all of this music. It has all these different sound clips on it. And it's sort of like, here's a representation of human culture, and we're sending it out into the universe and hope that somebody stops by. So this movie is about the consequences of if that were to happen. There are actually a number of movies that are based on this idea. Star Trek, the motion picture, some aliens encounter the gold record, make a beeline for the Earth.
We've seen this same scene in Predator.
Yeah.
We've seen it in Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a recurring theme. I think like Voyager so captured the imagination and also kind of freaked people out.
Yeah.
That this whole idea shows up a lot. They don't specifically refer to it in E.T., but I wonder if that was also on their minds.
Right.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There was a whole spate of alien films in the late 70s and early 80s. And I think it all goes back to the Voyager probe going out, 1 and 2. And I think it was just people kind of grappling with the idea of, oh my God, what's going to happen if they actually show up here? And in some cases, it works out fine. I mean, not fine. I mean, it doesn't work out fine for Starman, but it certainly, he's not a threat to humanity. And I like that this is a take where he's not a threat at all. He has no desire to conquer us or to hurt us or anything. He just wants to find out, what we are. As Americans, we really only encounter this idea, unfortunately, in colonialism. There's a line in here later, who is the missionary and who are the cannibals?
Oh, right, yeah.
First of all, it's a loaded concept. What the guy's saying is, the missionary is the good guy and he's going to get eaten by cannibals. And of course, our scientist kind of turns it on its head. It's like, well, who is who really?
Yeah.
First of all, we're the ones who want to, capture and dissect this alien. We're the bad guys. Mm-hmm. If aliens came, would they colonize us and do to us what we did to the Native Americans or people in Africa or anywhere in the world, to be honest, that, white people decide to go. So a lot of those alien movies are just Americans kind of sublimating their own rational fear of, oh my God, are they going to do to us what we did to everybody else?
What'd you think of the U.S. Army in this movie?
Oh, well, they're the bad guys. And why wouldn't they be? Look, Carpenter doesn't have any great love for the American government or military. Right. And I'm right with him there. And so, of course, their entire goal is to capture the alien and kill it and dissect it. And dude, that's exactly what we would be doing.
I agree. I feel like there'd be more bureaucracy, more... you wouldn't tell who was in charge. There wouldn't be just one guy in charge.
Well, and there isn't just one guy in charge here. Our scientist, Mark, he thinks he's in charge. He thinks he can let Starman and Jenny go. And of course that doesn't work. There's a guy who's above him. And there's a guy who's going to be above that guy, who answers to the Army. The Army ultimately, calls the shots. There's always somebody higher up. And the higher up you go, the more that they just kind of, their attitude is, yeah, just kill it. And I think Carpenter's right.
So we've talked this long. We haven't mentioned Karen Allen.
I know, which is absolutely wrong because she is so amazing in this.
She kind of makes the movie.
Oh, no, she really...
Well, they both do.
They do, yeah.
Jeff Bridges and her are amazing in this movie. If they weren't in it, we wouldn't know what this movie is. They really both are so good.
She really conveys the feeling of this is a woman who is just lost in her own grief and does not know how to handle it. Here is this guy who looks like my dead husband. You can see all these conflicting emotions playing on her face at times, and she just doesn't quite know what she wants to do because she wants to get away. This guy is not her husband, it is an alien, and she wants to run away, but she never really runs away because she's both dealing with the fact that this was her husband's body that she's looking at, even though it's not. It's a clone. And also the alien presence she's emotionally attached to.
Right.
So she has all of these emotions going on, and she's so good in this role.
But what I like about it is that she goes through stages.
Yes.
At first she's like, I'm being kidnapped, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And she tries to hit another car to get this to happen. She does everything to get away from.
And are you going to kill me? You have a gun.
Exactly.
What are you going to do to me? Here's the thing. It's not expressed, but there's also a fear of, okay, I know you're an alien, but you're in a man's body and you have a gun and you're kidnapping me. At what point am I going to be assaulted?
I'm guessing the reason why he keeps the gun on him is that she pulled out the gun on him first.
Oh, yeah, no, he doesn't quite get what the whole deal with the gun is at first.
Yeah, he radios back to alien dudes and he says, I've landed. I lost my ship. This is hostile. The whole reason why he crashes is that as his ship is coming down, they'd send out jets and they just shoot it down right away. It was supposed to go to Arizona, and so he ends up going to
Wisconsin. Yeah. Although that is not Wisconsin.
Right.
That's a funny thing. So this film takes place all across the continental United States. The problem for us is we've been through most of the continental United States, and I can look at that and go, that is not Wisconsin. There are hills everywhere.
Yeah.
At first I was like, where are they? Are they upstate New York? I think at another point they're in Tennessee, and it definitely looks more like Tennessee.
I think the explosion that was actually filmed in Tennessee.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's one part where they're definitely in Monument Valley. We know that's.
Oh yeah.
That's right at the bottom of Utah.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were supposed to be in Utah at the time.
No, that was probably fine. In fact, because we'll get to that. But that was, if you remember, they left Colorado. Monument Valley is not that far from Four Corners.
True.
Yeah, because they go through Grand Junction.
Was Grand Junction where we were at the bar where it was playing an Eagles
No,
documentary?
God.
Like,
On repeat.
yeah.
They just
Maybe it wasn't Grand Junction.
no, that was
but-
Cortez.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was so mad. So it crashes in Wisconsin. It is definitely not Wisconsin. I guess he just comes in as a ball of light.
Yeah.
So she's sitting there watching old home movies and just, looking at her and her late husband, who of course is Jeff Bridges. I mean, look, I can imagine being in her position, unfortunately. Not because I think you're going to die anytime soon. I'm just saying, like, as I watch this, I could feel empathy for, her and just sitting and just watching these old home movies. So the ball of light comes in, just starts going through, like, their photo
picture book,
albums. Yeah.
At one point, a CGI head, I guess.
Hologram, I guess.
Hologram or something,
Yeah.
like, comes out of the picture and looks
And it's Jeff
around.
Bridges' head,
Yeah.
and it's very weird looking.
It's a bad effect, but...
Well, I mean, it's fine. It's of
Yeah.
the time. It just looks goofy,
yeah.
And
I feel like that's what you'd see in the commercial. I remember seeing that
oh, really?
effect, yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know.
How do you sell people on that?
They spent so much money on the shot that they...
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, how does he get some of his hair or something?
Yeah, she has his hair taped into like
Oh,
this,
okay, that's what it was.
and,
Yeah.
and he's...
Yeah, he takes some of the DNA from Scott's hair.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a baby crying on the floor, and
It's got
that
lights
is-
inside it. It's like, it's creepy looking.
It is a very creepy baby.
Now, this scene it's a little bit like The Thing.
Yes, it's a bit thingish.
Yeah.
It's really unnerving, actually. So, now it's a baby, and the baby just starts stretching and growing into a child, and then the child stretches and grows eventually into, adult Jeff Bridges. Although I assume that's a body double. I doubt we actually got to see Jeff Bridges' butt. Because we never see him turn around. I mean, so once he turns around, I don't think we see below the chest again.
And the thing is that, so once
I'm just saying, have some guts.
once he turns into Jeff Bridges, like, Jeff Bridges is just as weird.
Oh, he's so
like,
strange
his
in this.
acting in the beginning is crazy. It's like he really doesn't feel human at all.
Oh, no.
Like, you feel like you're looking at like this CGI Uncanny Valley thing.
Yeah. Like, he just physically doesn't appear and fully human. It's fascinating what he's doing with his face. You said he studied birds?
I guess he met with like a dance instructor or something and studied ornithology or something to just kind of act bird-like, and it really it's so strange. Like all these weird sudden movements and
Yeah. It's very herky-jerky, and his face kind of just pulls tight in weird ways.
yeah.
Like, you really feel like he is an alien. Like, he doesn't move right. He has this strange, gait for a lot of the movie. And yeah, bird-like is definitely correct. And it works. He keeps it up through the whole thing. He was nominated for Best Actor, and he should have won. He lost to F. Murray Abraham in Amadeus. And look, Amadeus, great movie. F. Murray Abraham is great in it, but this is a fascinating physical performance. This is like unreal. He feels alien.
Yeah. Recently, we've been talking about like adult movies versus kid movies.
Yeah.
This was a movie I've never seen, and I didn't seek it out because I was like, this seems like an adult thing.
Well, you were right.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's a PG movie. There's nothing. Well.
It just didn't seem fun. Is how my kid brain saw it.
Oh no, this is not a film for children. They'd be bored out of their minds.
But I remember like all the hype about Jeff Bridges and how like, oh, he's amazing in this, and it was like this whole big deal that like the sci-fi movie had like a Best Actor.
Well, that is kind of a big,
yeah.
That would have been a big deal. So of course she freaks out, pulls the gun on him, and as we were saying, and eventually works out that he needs to get to Arizona so that he can make a rendezvous with the mothership and get back to his own people, or else he's going to die.
Now he shows the map of the U.S.
Yeah.
in the car. Does he use one of his magic beans for the map?
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
He has all these little like marbles.
I think like 6.
6 of them.
Yeah.
And he has to be very judicious about when he uses them. Like he's using them pretty freely in the beginning, I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
And, as the film goes on, he just starts to run out of marbles.
Yeah, I think like the first one he uses to contact the ship.
Sure.
And we didn't really know what these marbles were at first, so it's like, oh, like
They're magic. It's just magic.
magic beans.
Yeah, more or less. He kind of half convinces her, half kidnaps her, and makes her drive him to Arizona. And so the idea is then the rest of the film is this road trip from Wisconsin to Arizona.
Wow. Meanwhile, a Sixers fan.
No, dude, he's watching the Bullets.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He's obviously like working in DC. So cut to our scientist, Mark Sherman, played by Charles Martin Smith, who is sitting and watching a basketball game between the Sixers and the Bullets. Oh boy, did Dennis get excited seeing this. He just, all of a sudden, he's just like, stop, that's Dr. J!
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And we even know which game this is now, right? It's from, it's 1983.
I'm pretty sure, like, so 83 is when they won the championship, and I'm assuming this, like, they used it. I don't know.
It's in like the IMDb trivia that, you know, I think it's like sometime in like October of 83. So this is after we won the championship. You know, yeah, it takes place at the Spectrum, like the great era of the Sixers. This is Dr. J, Moses Malone.
Yep.
And we won that game too, right?
Yep.
So
I think like 118 to 113.
Okay, I believe you.
I think Dr. J had 23 points.
Oh my, okay. Settle down, ESPN.
Actually, it was the only game we beat the Bullets that year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, so this guy's probably in DC, and he's probably a Bullets fan. But
okay, just as an aside, I still can't believe there was a team, the Washington Bullets. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Like, who named them?
Yeah. Oh, we do have a movie to get to, but I would kind of wish I'd do some research on that.
No. This is not a basketball podcast.
All right.
You had basketball talk on the last show.
That's true.
When we had John Solomon on. There's no more basketball. Anyway, so our scientist Mark is contacted like, oh man, we got an alien thing going on.
Yeah.
His whole thing is, obviously he wants to find the alien and he wants to study the alien, but he is cutting on pretty quick that, oh man, the military just wants to capture the alien and kill it and dissect it. And so he's trying to kind of, walk a fine line between keeping his job, but also trying to argue with them that, hey, let's not kill this guy.
Yeah.
Because he's from SETI. If you don't know,
he works with Jodie Foster in Contact.
Yes.
So around this time is when she makes her first attempted escape.
They end up stopping for gas. Like, she has to explain how the human body works to this alien. So she has to explain that I need food. I need to eliminate the waste from the food. We need things like sleep. Your body feels bad right now because you have not eaten. She's got to explain all these things to him because even though he's a clone, he doesn't understand like how humans work. She has to explain what the idea of fuel is.
Yeah, he's like, you need fuel?
Yeah,
much fuel already?
Because he doesn't understand why she wants to pull the car over and get gas. Now, of course, she also pulls the car over because she's thinking like, oh, maybe I can get away from this guy.
Yeah.
And she's right. But, the film needs her to keep with him. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have a movie.
Right.
Much like a lot of other films that, we already brought up. So, like The 39 Steps, like It Happened One Night. She doesn't run away from him, even though, there is that instinct. So it's kind of fun watching Carpenter work with these kind of ideas from other films and finding its own justification. And what I like is that the movie, whoever wrote the screenplay, they found a justification for why she doesn't run off.
Yeah.
And it's very complicated set of emotions, but it really works, I think. It's a cross-country trip, and there's all these incidents like they end up at one truck stop where they encounter a group of hunters and Starman decides to bring the deer back from the dead, which is a terrible idea.
By the way, that hunter later played Jason and in like Jason 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
I mean, when he goes to punch Jeff Bridges, although if you watch it carefully, you can see that Bridges kind of goes down right before he connects with the punch. I was watching, I'm just like, choreography's a little off here.
Was this in Goofs?
Yeah, no, this is in my Goofs.
Yeah.
I'm watching this, I'm just like, yeah, I can tell he's slightly fast on this. That's fine, it's fine.
Yeah. Because
that guy is big. Yeah, he lets the guy's deer go free, even though, because he raises it from the dead. There's also like a bunch of beats from this that echo E.T. But this whole time, the army is looking for him. They're out to get him. They spend a night at a Holiday Inn at one point where there's a whole bunch of people tailgating for, I guess North Carolina's going to play whatever the local college is. And there's just a great scene where these cops have been told that they are not to arrest our pair. They're just there to like observe them. And so the cops are bored and they're like, no, let's go.
They try to break into his car.
They try to break into the car and stuff. So the tailgaters are just like, oh, screw this. So they go and like tell them, hey, the cops are trying to break into your car. And they decide to distract the cops by throwing a vending machine off the balcony. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
You know, this is from an era when in films you could have, you know, cops are the bad guys and dumb. And, you know,
it's a little Smokey and the Bandit vibe.
Yeah. I mean, Hitchcock would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, so this is, it's fun watching old movies before 9/11.
So she starts to fall from when he brings the deer back to life.
Yeah, I think it's the bringing the deer back that really you can see her face just kind of light up in amazement.
Yeah.
And you can imagine like just all of the weird emotions she would be having, you know, watching this guy who looks like her husband able to raise things from the dead. And in some sense, he has raised her husband from the dead in a very weird and uncanny way. The way that she expresses these emotions, because then they go and have they sit in a diner and have this conversation where he's trying to ask her about what exactly love is. She tries to explain all these things, and she just breaks down, you know, crying, and is just so overwhelmed. It's a really beautiful scene, and she does it so well. I forgot to mention, I guess when they were at the Holiday Inn, From Here to Eternity is on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great film.
Yeah.
And of course it's the scene on the beach. But what I like is this is also paralleling that scene in E.T. a little bit where E.T. is watching The Quiet Man. Mm-hmm. And it's that same sort of thing where an alien is watching a love scene and trying to understand exactly what is happening in that scene and trying to figure out, how do I apply this to my own situation? You know, what do I do with this information? And it's interesting, of course, that because this is a movie for adults, it's a much more like intimate moment. You know, I mean, the scene in E.T. is, of course, a much wilder scene, you know, because, of course, the frogs have been let go and, you know, the school is in chaos. Yeah. And, you know, Elliot is acting out the scene because E.T. is watching it while very drunk. You know, it's this very kind of odd scene, actually, in E.T. And here it's a much more intimate thing where, you know, he kind of wants to kiss her because he's watching them, but he doesn't know how to do it, and he doesn't really quite do it. Like, he doesn't really know what he's doing.
So after the cops, there's the cop chase, and that's when they shoot her.
He doesn't know that this is a bad idea. He pulls out the gun, and of course, what do the cops do? They unload on their car, and they I assume, do actually kill Jenny. I mean, they blow her to bits. And so he sets off, he basically drives the car through a tanker. And this is one of the big explosions in the film.
Yes, he uses his magic bean.
So instead he hides them in, I guess, like a mobile home that's on the back of a truck that's being driven across the country. So while they're hiding in this mobile home, he raises her from the dead using his magic beans and then leaves her because, of course, this whole thing has been very dangerous and he just does not want to endanger her further.
So he has to get to Arizona or he dies.
He knows that she's alive, but I guess he just figures, I got to get out of here. And this happens a couple of times where he leaves her, which is an interesting reversal of her trying to leave him earlier in the film. There was the other time at the diner where he gets a ride with the fry cook. You know, again, this happens a couple of times, and, you know, a couple of times they have to escape roadblocks, hitching a ride with, I assume, Navajo family, because they're in Monument Valley. They give them a ride. And there's a very touching scene with a mother and her child. And they start talking about, you know, babies and, you know, where that comes from and whatnot. And they end up having to jump onto a freight train. And they're riding in a boxcar like hobos. And I love that. I love that what they do is it's all these different modes of transportation. And, like, again, it made me think of It Happened One Night, but also just like all sorts of like just road movies. It's a very... It's a deeply American sort of film. Yeah. Right down to riding the rails.
Midnight Run.
Yeah, exactly like Midnight Run. Yeah. Well, not exactly like Midnight Run, because this is the scene where they finally make love. Yeah. And I don't remember that happening in Midnight Run, though it could have.
I don't know. Charles Grodin probably.
He might have attempted it at one point. Yeah.
He did want that chicken.
Yes. He's going to get pneumonia, so she takes, you know, his clothes off and puts a blanket on him, and he's just like, "Well, if you're taking your clothes off, I'm going to take your clothes off," sort of thing, because part of what he does is imitate things, and you can see where this is like kind of the moment where she's just like, yeah, I don't understand exactly how to process what's going on. Think that she's thinking, I miss my husband. You look like my husband. You're also your own person.
And he knows about it. He's like, oh, I know how your biology works.
Yeah, he understands how sex works.
Yeah.
But you can see that she's just kind of like, you know what? She just throws caution to the wind, and they literally have a roll in the hay on a train. It is all of the metaphors you could possibly throw in to a sex scene.
It's like the most Hitchcockian.
It really is. And you know what? Fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
You're
I
on
like.
a train. That's what you do.
Well, I mean, and that fits because of
Blow
course.
the whistle.
Yeah.
Woo.
What is at the end of North by Northwest?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So and of course, like North by Northwest, it's the same sort of like that's also a road trip across the United States. Like he's consciously echoing these other films. Mm-hmm. So this was a PG movie, and I'm not used to sex scenes in a PG movie. I mean, it's a very chaste. You don't see anything like below the clavicle. There's no actual nudity. It's all implied. But I was kind of surprised that this was given a PG and not a PG-13. I mean, you could show this to a kid. I don't think there's a problem with it. But I did find it funny because I'm thinking like I'm watching this now. And I'm just like I don't know if that would be a PG.
I don't know. 80s like boobs and cursing. That's R.
I know. So like that's what I find really funny is like this like nowadays every child's movie is PG.
Yeah.
I don't think this would be considered PG anymore.
Yeah.
Even though there's nothing in it, I think, that is inappropriate.
So sexual situations, smoking.
Yeah. Oh, there's smoking in this. And that would be reason enough to have it become like an adult film.
Yeah.
I know, like to have that on the same level. I mean, like neither of us are smokers, but I do find it really weird when like smoking is considered one of the big sins you can commit now. I mean, come on. After they've had sex, Starman says, yeah, you're going to have a baby now. And she's just like, dude, trust me, I can't have a kid. I mean, I don't have kids for a reason. Doctor said it's not going to work.
I'm a spaceman. I don't shoot blanks.
Right. And he kind of said something interesting where it's like it's going to be your husband's kid because you know I'm using his DNA, but it's also my kid.
I'm in his meat car.
Yeah, basically driving him around.
Yeah.
And so she's going to have the kind of hybrid baby that Time Life Books would hawk at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, I've definitely watched that infomercial.
Oh, so they end up in Vegas.
Yeah, there's the thing. They want to go to Winslow, Arizona, which oddly enough we've been to.
Yeah.
It's south of the Grand Canyon because there's a big crater there, which unfortunately we have not been to.
Yeah.
I did not know about that when we were there. But they overshoot and they end up in Las Vegas. And it's kind of silly that they end up in Vegas. It's kind of neat because this is old Vegas. Yeah. This is Vegas before all of the big casinos went in, like the Bellagio and
Luxor.
The Luxor, the Camelot. Like none of that stuff was there. It was all of the old, like the Gold Nugget and everything. And so this is very, honestly, God, look more like Reno at this point.
Yeah.
Like what Reno looks like now, that's what Vegas used to look like. But it's kind of neat seeing like older Vegas. And so because he's an alien, he can win them money. They buy a Cadillac. And they just drive to Arizona. Yeah. Unfortunately, because he's an alien and he can win the money and buy a Cadillac, he puts a giant target on his back. Now the feds know exactly where he is, and they follow them to Winslow. And they corner them at a little roadside cafe. At which point our scientist Mark comes back and goes in, and he convinces all of the sheriffs and whatnot to stand by and just let him go in and talk to him. And of course, he lets them go because he knows what's waiting for them. He's already seen the gurneys and everything where they're going to dissect Starman. Yeah. So he goes in and he says, "Yeah, these aren't our guys. No, let him go. It's fine."
And when she says like, "Oh, he'll die if he doesn't get there," he's like, "Okay, I'll help you."
Yeah, I think his attitude is just kind of like, this guy is going to die either way. I may as well have him. Yeah. If this is what's going to let this guy live, let him go. They hightail it for the crater. Of course, the army is not the local sheriff department. The army comes in with their helicopters and starts shooting at them in the crater.
One of the pilots is John Carpenter, by the way.
It took me a second to realize who you were talking about, but yeah, no, the chopper pilot is definitely John Carpenter. But thankfully, our Deus Ex Machina shows up. The alien ship shows up, and all of a sudden, it starts snowing in the crater. Visually, it's really neat. All this snow starts coming down, but it also like this red beam of light, and he goes, back into the ship, and then the end of the film, it just focuses on Karen Allen's face as she sees, presumably the ship, take off and go away again. It's only focused on her face, and it's
Yeah.
just about like the emotions on her face, and it's a mixture of like sadness and wonder and joy and grief. It's like all these very beautiful human emotions, and she's so just luminous in that moment, you know, with those big eyes of hers, and she's just beautiful and sad and happy at the same time, and it's just a really gorgeous image to end on.
And why didn't she get nominated?
Yeah, and why didn't she get nominated? Seriously, she's so good in this.
She is great in this movie.
I love her in this. Like, I have loved her as Marion Ravenwood for like since I was a child.
Yeah.
You know, like but because she doesn't have like.
At least in one movie.
Well, yeah, okay, we won't talk about the Crystal Skull, but I haven't seen her really in a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the deal with her career is, but she's so good in this. I wish I had seen her in more things. Why isn't she in more stuff? I don't know.
She's in Animal House.
Okay, well, I only saw Animal House once, and
okay.
yeah, that's a very long time ago.
We've been mentioning E.T. a lot.
Yeah.
So E.T. comes from a script called Night Skies. So that was about malevolent aliens messing with humans, and that was being directed by Spielberg. It was owned by Columbia, as well as this other story that was bouncing around. Spielberg, like while working on Raiders, was like, I don't know, like I don't really want to do like the evil aliens thing. They had a subplot where there was a nice alien who befriends that autistic person, and he was like, well, let's develop that instead. And so it morphed into E.T. So Columbia was like, I don't know, this is turning into more of a kids thing. I don't think it's going to make much money. And so he went to Universal and said, why don't you buy this script from them, and, you know, I can make it into a thing. And so Columbia lets it go, and they kept Starman because they're like, oh, we can make money with this one. But then E.T. comes out in 1982, makes billions of dollars, and they're like, well, we can't do Starman now because it's too much like, at the time it was too much like E.T.
Oh.
And so
and there's definitely parallels.
Yeah.
Huge parallels.
And it got kicked around from director to director, and eventually got to Carpenter.
Yeah, this is such a, I think, warm and open-hearted take on the alien invader story. I was surprised that it was Carpenter. You know, he's not known for love stories.
Yeah.
Like, there's stuff in here that doesn't surprise me that it's Carpenter. Like, yeah, the government is sucks and horrible and mean, and normal people are, you know, some are good and some are terrible, but, you know, even the ones who are jerks, you can kind of understand why the hunter was mad that the guy, you know, stole his deer. You know, you understand where he's coming from, even though the guy's a jerk. It's funny because, you know, when there are aliens usually in a Carpenter movie, it's something like They Live, The Thing. You know, it's menacing. And what I love is that this is such an inversion of what he normally is known for.
Yeah.
You know, and it really surprised me that this is the John Carpenter movie.
I gotta say, like, I didn't think of the dude at all.
No.
Like, or any other Jeff Bridges character.
No.
Like, he really disappears into this character, and it's like a weird guy.
Yeah.
Like, you really feel like it's just this thing walking around in a Jeff Bridges suit.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because, like, I mean, I've seen a fair number of Jeff Bridges movies. I mean, everything from The Last Picture Show to The Big Lebowski to Iron Man 1. I mean, you know, like, I've seen a lot of stuff that he's been in.
Well,
I even saw Masked and Anonymous, and that's not a good movie.
Oh, is that Dylan?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that is a strange movie.
Yeah. I
But
feel like I saw that too.
Yeah, no, we watched it together.
Yeah, I've kind of put it out of my mind. But...
Well, yeah, it's a weird movie. But no, I mean, I've seen Jeff Bridges in a lot of things, and this is so singular a performance.
Part of it is that, like, Jeff Bridges' voice is he usually does that kind of like, oh shucks, I'm a good old boy type of voice, and that's not here at all. It's just this weird clipped, like.
Yeah, the way he speaks in this is very strange, and I mean, it works. It's great. It makes a lot of sense for the character. But yeah, you're not thinking this is Jeff Bridges for a lot of it. So that was Starman, starring Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen and directed by John Carpenter. You can follow us on social media. We are Mary VS Movies. On Twitter, we are maryvsmovies@gmail.com. Please write to us with any comments, questions, complaints, or suggestions. We would love to hear from you. We are available on all of the major platforms. We are at Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review us, and please do that so that more people can hear about us. We are on Stitcher and Spotify and Overcast and all of the major platforms where you want to catch your pods. You can go to the Libsyn website and get our RSS feed and plug it right in. We even have a Patreon now, believe it or not, because while we love doing this show, it actually does cost a little bit of money and a whole lot of time, and we love doing this, but we would actually like to upgrade our equipment, and, it costs money renting all these movies, and it costs money hosting the website, the podcast and everything, so we do have a little bit of a Patreon. It's $3 a month. You are under no obligation to join. Our podcasts are not going away. We're not going behind a paywall. But if you're willing to, throw us a couple bucks to help pay for the show, we would appreciate it. And, at some point we'll be able to send out things like, little swag. We're looking at how to make swag. So, you can go to patreon.com/maryvsmovies, I believe. And if you feel up for, contributing, we would appreciate it. Next week, as I said, we are going to watch The Last Starfighter, which now I'm pretty sure features Robert Preston, the Music Man. I guess in space? I don't know. But I'm kind of curious as to what that movie is.
Maybe it's a love story with Robert Preston.
And an alien.
Yeah.
Hey, why not? I'll watch that. Until next time.
Define bozo.